Thursday, the 3rd of August, and the last show of the work week because we won't be back until Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. But we'll be talking about severe weather and some flash flood risks. But there's nothing that really is overly widespread. In this first weekend of the month of August, we're going to have another shot of dry air moving into the northeast, which we'll be most enjoying. And we will talk about all of that and much more tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. They've got mulch, topsoil, and sand. Back up the truck and get what you need to make your home look like an absolute paradise on the outside. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. Nowhere can you find better prices. And the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system, and you can join the fastest growing weather network on the planet. The link will be pinned shortly to the top of the chat board. And should you use the referral link that's there or the one that's on the descriptor to this video, remember to use the coupon code I want a weather station, because if you do, you get
10% off.
And that's on just about everything that's on their website. So not just the weather station, but if you make a purchase on any of their weather electronic devices, or perhaps some smart weather fashion, which Joe Rayo knows everything about, use that coupon code.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, exactly.
And even if there's something were during a period of rough weather, something were to break and you needed a replacement part, which might happen, sometimes you get, some piece or part of your weather station that may, malfunction or whatever. You need to replace it.
Well, it's basically one piece.
It is. I mean,
Yes.
there's no cups, for example, that spin around like my weather station, or
Yep.
any kind of like an arrow.
Nope, it's all electronic.
It's amazing.
It is. It is.
Yes.
Okay, so here we are on a Thursday. Welcome to everybody on the chat board to tonight's Joe and Joe Weather Show. And we hope you had a great day today, and hope you got exciting plans for the weekend, because you know what? The summer weekends are soon going to be dwindling down to a precious few. And also welcome to everybody that's watching and lurking in the background, as I'd like to say. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on your notifications, because this way you won't miss the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is on Monday through Thursdays at 7:35 and Sundays at 11 a.m. Fridays and Saturdays we're off, but if there's a big storm on a Friday or a Saturday, you can rest assured that we will be here doing an extra live cast. So anyway, they forecasted 1.75. What was it? 1.5 to 2.75 inches of rain here. We were going over the forecast wording about the showers and thunderstorms until 2 o'clock, showers and possibly a thunderstorm between 2 and 3, and then showers and thunderstorms after 3 o'clock. I got a whopping 0.17 inches of rain today. And wait a minute. And in fact, just a second. So they basically had 80 to 90% probabilities of rain during the early morning hours and just about all day today. So I just want to let you know that I'm checking my Tempest app, because everything is on the app. So anyway, I'm going to check it here.
There you go.
It's going to tell me. Okay. It rained today for a grand total. I stand corrected. 1/1500ths of an inch of rain, not 1700ths.
Okay.
I don't want to exaggerate. Okay, 1/1500ths of an inch of rain. It rained for a grand total, Joe, of 113 minutes.
What do you want me to?
I'm just, you don't have to say anything. I'm just commenting on everything. Now, to be fair, too, there were some big thunderstorms to the east and south of me. I just basically got clipped by the edge as opposed to the whole thing just kind of moving right overhead. But that's what happens sometimes. Meanwhile, you had your humidity go up today in eastern Pennsylvania to southern New England. But I imagine it was still relatively tolerable. I mean, compared to 70 dew points, 60 ain't bad.
Yes, it's not bad at all.
So it was tolerable.
But the thing is that we're going to we'll see a brief bump in dew point temperatures tomorrow. Then they'll be knocked down, although not as much as they were earlier in the week. And that'll keep it more tolerable for Saturday and Sunday. And then a big push up in the dew point temperatures, probably for the very beginning of next week on Monday.
And I think we've got two cold fronts to deal with, one tomorrow and one on Monday. I think the one on Monday stands a chance of producing severe weather. I'm looking that with some interest for Monday. Tomorrow there'll be some showers and storms around. SPC's got the severe weather set up north and west, north to the north and west of the coast, and I think that's fair. I don't anticipate them expanding into a humongous marginal and slight risk out of this for tomorrow.
No, and the thing is that this started out, as we have seen so many times before, for Friday as just general thunderstorms. Then they upgraded it to marginal, and now they've thrown in the chance for a slight risk. So who knows? Maybe you just said that you don't expect any more upgrades or whatever like that, but you never know. Maybe somewhere in that slight risk area, they may throw in a little bit of an enhanced possibility. But
when tomorrow?
Well, the way they tend to do things, the way they upgrade their forecasts on a day-to-day basis. Well, I think whatever we see tomorrow, most of the activity tomorrow in terms of convection probably will come after, I think, 4 or 5 o'clock, and then will linger or continue up until about midnight, at least here in the tri-state area. And we might even have, Joe, and I mentioned this on my Facebook page for today, we might even have a rumble or two of thunder late tonight.
Yes.
In parts of our area, but the main thrust of activity, the heavy artillery or heavier artillery, will not come until later tomorrow into the first half of tomorrow night.
All right, so why don't we check out what's going on this evening as we take a look at the surface map from 21Z, which is 5 o'clock Eastern Time, and noticing that most of the dew points were in the upper 50s and low 60s, which is up from the last couple of days. So, when you go from 70 to when you go from a dew point of 75 to 60, it feels very good.
Yes.
When you go from a dew point to 50 to 60, you also will begin to feel, you'll feel it a little bit. But again, as we mentioned, it was pretty much a tolerable day in the Northeast from that standpoint. And you really have to go down pretty far south, even into North Carolina. A lot of the dew points were not all that high. They were in the middle and upper 60s. You really have to get into South Carolina and southern Georgia, where the dew points were all above 70. And of course, you go further west into Alabama, especially in southern Alabama, the southern half of the state was in the mid to upper 90s. Another day of temperatures in the upper 90s to over 100 in parts of Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana, 100-degree read, and a couple of 102s in the western part of the state. And of course, Texas just burning up with lots of 100-degree highs just about everywhere, as is Oklahoma, as is southern Kansas. And then you jump to the other side of the frontal boundary, and it's in the 80s and some upper 70s. And then you go up into North Dakota and Minnesota, it's in the upper 80s and low 90s. So it's just sort of, back and forth. And a lot of those areas that had lower temperatures today, across, for example, in Missouri and in Kentucky and Tennessee, where it was in the 70s, was because they had a lot of clouds and rain for a good portion of the day, which actually helped to hold the temperatures down. Chuck Cardillo hits Super Chat tonight. Thank you, Chuck. We always try to keep it real here with no crazy hype. We're a hype-free zone here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. And in the Southwest, the usual suspects are over 100. The others are not. And in Southern California, the usual suspects are over 100, but the rest are not. And that is that. So on the satellite loop, let's check out what's going on. You can see what I was talking about earlier with what was going on in Georgia and in Alabama and South Carolina. There is an east-west band of thunderstorms that's moving southward. And again, that band actually formed once the area shifted. Whoa, what happened there?
I don't know.
Oh, the ghost site just crashed, Joe. That was weird. Let's see if no, there it goes. Got it back.
Maybe the Earth stopped turning.
They did something over there because this thing just is basically resetting. Let's go back to the lightning strikes here, and yeah, well, look at there's a gold. Yeah, there it goes. So now we've got. You can see that the lightning strikes in that east-west band. I was flipping around on the stations here, and noticed that they were running crawls on the bottom of the screen for all these counties and towns in my state here. And meanwhile, in the Northeast, not a lot of smoke around on the satellite. There was some, but not a lot. More to the south than to the north. And there's a nice looking line of storms now approaching the St. Lawrence River and about to move into western New York and northern New York and northeastern New York, and maybe eventually up into parts of Vermont in the next few hours.
Yeah, I just have to enlarge the screen here to make things look a little clearer for me, and I keep enlarging the wrong screen. I have too many windows open right now.
Ah, well, this you must correct.
Yes. Oh, there it is. There we go. Yes, I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, and also the monsoon stuff is not really making a big impact today in Utah and Arizona and New Mexico. There's sort of a gap, but we see showers and storms further north in Wyoming, northern Nevada, eastern Oregon, and then extending up through Wyoming into parts of Montana. And here's what it looks like on the radar view tonight. Let's check out the line of storms and downpours and some thunderstorms there. That's over the St. Lawrence River Valley, and it's moving southeastward. And there's also a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings, or at least there were two. Now there's just one in northwestern Vermont from a cluster of storms there. There's some scattered stuff. Looks like northern Dutchess County, maybe southern Columbia County in New York State, and a couple of other cells just to the northwest of Albany scattered there, and a couple of little dots in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, a dying patch of rain in southeastern Virginia, and then you got those storms that I mentioned earlier with 4 severe thunderstorm warnings in play at the moment, cutting the state of Georgia in half and extending into Alabama. Actually, it's 2, 3, 4, 6 severe thunderstorm warnings that are up there.
And is that the activity that was supposed to give you a day-long 2 inches of rain that's now off to your south?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the stuff that came overhead, actually, the stuff that came into Tennessee and western North Carolina and in the eastern part of Georgia basically weakened. And then the stuff that was further west wound up strengthening, but it strengthened after the line moved south of me. So I didn't have any thunder. I had a couple of downpours where, but it was barely enough to get the ground wet around here. And yeah, now they're going gangbusters further to the south. I hate to, because I did this when I took my trip down to Florida back in early March. It's very frustrating to drive into a thunderstorm complex that's moving in the same direction that you're driving in, because you basically never drive out of it. And especially when you do it in the dead of night at 5 o'clock in the morning, like I did. Oh my God, I must have been in that thing for about an hour and a half. I could not, and Joe, it was, I remember it was pouring so hard. I couldn't see out the windshield. There's no there's no lights on the interstate. Not that that really would have helped very much, but um, you were at one point I was driving at less than 10 miles an hour because it was raining so hard, and there was cars in front of me that uh, were having obviously the same difficulty I was. But yeah, uh, you don't want to drive in the same direction that the storms are moving from. If I were coming from south to north, it would be a different story because then you'd get through them a lot quicker. But I was not that fortunate. The Storm Prediction Center for tonight, marginal to slight risk from eastern Michigan to western New Hampshire. There's a small area of slight risk east of Lake Ontario in northern New York. We've got a severe thunderstorm watch playing out right now in those Georgia, Alabama storms, where there's a marginal to slight risk there. We have a slight to enhanced risk in the west central plains, and a fairly large watch box just went up for easternmost Colorado and western Nebraska and a small portion of southeastern Wyoming, with what's happening out in the west and storms firing up in that particular location. Now, let's look at tomorrow. So here's what they have for tomorrow. They have a marginal risk into northwest New Jersey. Much of Pennsylvania is in marginal risk. Looks like north of 84 is at a marginal risk, slight risk when you get up into the Catskills, the Poconos, south central New York, going northeastward from there toward Albany, and then southern Vermont, New Hampshire. I still say that this is not going to get expanded. Maybe they expand the marginal risk a little bit, but I don't expect them to do much else with this.
And they don't even have, in the slight risk, they don't even have mention of any kind of a tornado threat, not even a 2% threat. So what they're thinking of with the slight risk is maybe some gusty straight line winds and maybe even some hail, but for the moment at least, no mention of any threat for any tornadic activity.
I want you to know that I switched the maps as you were uh, mentioning the tornado and the wind and the hail. I stayed with you there, Joe.
Oh, okay.
Okay, just so you know. And day three, which is Saturday into Sunday, except for Maine, and then you have to go to southern North Carolina southward. No thunderstorms are forecast for Saturday. Whoopee! Marginal to slight risk in the middle Mississippi and the Missouri River Valley, back into parts of the Central Plains. Marginal to slight risk there, but nothing to worry about Saturday or Sunday, I think, when it comes to thunderstorms.
Yeah, and of the 2 weekend days, it would appear to me that we're going to see skies brighten and become mainly sunny. So if you want to go to the beach or have a pool party or something out of doors tomorrow, Saturday here in the tri-state area most definitely is the day. Now, Sunday, I don't anticipate any precipitation, Joe, but I think we're going to see a goodly amount of mid and high level cloud cover. I didn't know exactly how I would word this. A blend of sun and clouds, varying amounts of sun and clouds, clouds occasionally breaking for some sunshine. But just put the emphasis on the fact that there'll be a lot more in the way of clouds on Sunday as opposed to Saturday. But again, I don't anticipate Sunday to be a day where we'll see any precipitation.
I'm in complete agreement. WPC has a marginal risk for flash flooding in upstate New York and Vermont, New Hampshire. It almost corresponds with the risk area that they have tonight. The marginal to slight risk from the southeast, interior southeast through the Tennessee Valley back to Missouri. But most of this is played out already. So really the focus is on where the thunderstorms are right now, which is in central Georgia and into east central Alabama, where they've got the severe thunderstorm watch, because there really isn't much of anything else going on elsewhere. And slight risk areas in the central plains and also extending up into the northern Rockies. Now, for tomorrow, with thunderstorms in the northeast, of course, any one of them could be a heavy rain producer, but all they have is a marginal risk now from the eastern half of Pennsylvania, the northern half of New Jersey, north and east including New York City and Long Island, and all of New England and much of upstate New York, except for western New York. And then you've got coastal Carolinas, then swings around to the Florida and Alabama, and then northwestward from there into um, the northern plains and into parts of the northern Rockies. They actually have a moderate risk in southeastern Montana, northwestern South Dakota, and southwestern North Dakota. Northwestern South Dakota and southwestern North Dakota. I somehow did not screw that up. And here's your rainfall forecast for the next 7 days. Fairly abundant everywhere east of the Rockies. Of course, a lot of this is convective, and obviously it's not going to rain 7 days straight. This is not the story of Noah's Ark, but we do have half to three-quarters of an inch with some inch to an inch and a half amounts in upstate New York and New England. It's convective, so we know that thunderstorms could easily double those amounts in some local areas. Also extending from the southeast northwestward through the Tennessee and Ohio Valley, and then on up into the Great Lakes and upper Mississippi Valley, west of the northern plains, a fairly large area of at least an inch and a half, and some pockets of 2.5 to 3 inches in the northern plains, and back up into the northern Rockies. The Southwest is dry. Texas is, with the way the heat ridge is set up. It's been very dry this summer in Texas, particularly in East Texas, which is prone to getting uh, quite a bit of rain sometimes when they got a tropical flow coming off the Gulf of Mexico. That's been totally non-existent this summer so far.
Yeah, it's been you're right, absolutely non-existent. Um, but it's going to be nice to have another weekend where we won't have to worry about any precipitation here in the tri-state area. But again, as I stressed just a few moments ago, sunnier on Saturday, more in the way of cloud cover, albeit dry on Sunday.
Uh, Michael Azaris asked me, did I see the day 4 to 8 outlook? Oh, 15% on day 5 covers all of Pennsylvania moving toward the mid-Atlantic next Monday. I think the Storm Prediction Center. I was reading that literally and thinking, who's showing Pennsylvania moving into the mid-Atlantic? It's just, I was trying, you know, the brain wires weren't working correctly. It finally clicked. But yes, day 4 on SPC. Now here's a tip off for Monday. Okay, so here's day 4, and this is Sunday into Monday morning. They've got a 15% risk area in Illinois, Indiana, Western Ohio, and in the lower lakes. Day 5, Joe, they've got
Yes.
a 15% chance in Pennsylvania, Maryland, northwestern Virginia, West Virginia, Ohio, and northeastern Kentucky. It's a pretty large area of risk for them to put it up in the northeast and the mid-Atlantic states on day 5. So this is Monday, and this is why I think Monday I think has got the chance that we could see some more extensive severe weather here with that front that's going to come through Monday evening.
Yes, it is a rather large area. You don't often see, especially on the fifth day, on day 5. Usually they'll have, all right, a little zone. That's a fairly substantial area that they have covering for day 5, and who knows? That might expand a little bit and include the immediate tri-state area as well.
I'm sure I would bet it will, and I would say also the fact that when you see it on day 5. Because they usually put predictability too low. So if they're sticking a 15% chance, which is a slight risk, you could probably bet a fair amount of money and safely bet it that you'll have that slight risk, and you might even have an enhanced risk thrown in there on Monday somewhere.
It's not out of the question. So keep your eyes on Monday, folks. Monday could be a rather active day, just as Joe and Joe. No, actually, we'll be back on Sunday with coffee with Joe and Joe at 11 o'clock in the morning.
Right. And then we'll have the Monday forecast. Of course,
Yes.
as they're probably making notations right now on what to do on Sunday morning over at SPC, just as they are glued to the screen, I'm sure. Checking out the upper air pattern on the latest run of the GFS. It's more of the same. Here's your trough for tomorrow, which is lining up right on top of us, which is why most of the weather is going to be more to the north and west rather than near the coast. And then, of course, that trough strengthens and lifts out, which allows for a dry air mass to come in. But the flow in the east is westerly over the weekend, and we mentioned this yesterday. That means the dew points won't be dropping all the way down into the southeast this time around. They'll probably come to a stop. The 50 dew points might make it down into, say, northern Maryland and northern Delaware, and that'll be about it. But then another this is a strong shortwave and trough that's setting up for Monday here. That's going to come on through. And there's a stronger upper low behind that one that swings to the east later in the week. Then they start to pull up a little bit back into Canada as the Atlantic ridge begins to strengthen a bit right out here. There's our Atlantic ridge. Then you've got the heat ridge that's been down in the southwest, anywhere from Texas to Arizona for the last month plus. Deep upper low in the Gulf of Alaska / the Aleutians. And now we've got this sort of more of a westerly flow across the U.S., which is not one that really is conducive for us to get heat. But going forward, now we're up to the week of the 14th. Once again, troughing swings into the eastern part of the United States, and the southern ridge actually moves up into Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, which is an interesting change. But we still keep seeing these troughs coming down from Canada, just continuing to drop into the eastern part of the United States right through the middle of the month. No change in the pattern yet.
Okay, well, we'll just see what happens as we progress through August, which, if I recall from the experimental long-range prog last week. Now, tomorrow we'll see the 3 to 4 week prog posted once again. But they had the first half of August, Joe, under above normal, and it doesn't appear that that's going to be the story. That looks like it's looking more and more like we're going to continue to remain below normal temperature-wise in this part of the country, at least through the first half of the month.
Below or near normal, I would say, something like that.
Yeah.
Brandon Doherty hitting the Super Chat tip jar tonight. Thank you, Brandon. Joining Chuck Cardillo, spent some time in Virginia, caught your show on the replay last night. Thank you, Brandon. And belated happy birthday to you, he says.
Oh, thank you.
So tonight and tomorrow, well, of course, now we get whatever happens up in New England tonight. And then tomorrow you see the front swinging eastward with some showers and some thunder and little patches there that indicate. I'm not showing the radar tonight. I'm showing just the rain area, the amount of precip. And you'll see some storms into Missouri and Arkansas and extending up into the plains tomorrow. But then once that front goes by, this is a little different. The high is further north, so we get a bit of dew point relief for Saturday into Sunday. And then here comes this system that comes out of the plains, which looks pretty vigorous here for Monday. A nice little low that actually drops from northern Illinois into Ohio before it goes up toward the St. Lawrence Valley, swinging a rather strong cold front, strong in the sense that it's going to be playing into 70 dew points. We got a 70 plus dew points on Monday with the southwest flow. So this should be a solid thunderstorm producer. And then the upper trough lingers on Tuesday, showing showers inland mostly, pulling out on Wednesday. And then as we go through the latter part of next week, here comes another front for the end of next week that approaches the coastline. And let's see, does this run have a tropical storm? Looks like a lot of rain for Florida, some kind of tropical wave moving through the Bahamas on this run of the GFS, but there's some kind of little low that pops up in the Northwest Caribbean, then it's gone. And then it's got some kind of low in the Gulf of Mexico after that, but that's about let's go to the wider shot just to see if it does anything in the tropics. And then we can segue over to Briller Jeopardy.
Well, before we get to Briller Jeopardy, if you can give me sharing capabilities, I forgot who posted it on the chat board, but somebody wanted to know, what is a cooperative weather station? And I figure, it might be worthwhile to show a video from a news report that I shot at News 12 over 10 years ago about the longest cooperative, or one of the longest cooperative weather stations in the country, and certainly in New York State, that have been taking weather observations since the end of the 19th century.
You have sharing capabilities.
Okay, but is there anything else you want to talk about before we get to that, or?
No, I'm pretty much done.
All right, so let me.
I was just seeing if the GFS produced a hurricane anywhere. The ensembles keep showing stuff on both the GFS and the European. The operational runs have shown diddly squat, and today's operational run of the GFS showed diddly squat. And I'll just give a quick look at the European here, and European has some kind of low out in the tropical Atlantic by the 10th day, but it's got very little weather around it. So much for that. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No problem. So this was done for this was a report that I did back in 2012 called Climate of Concern, and it was the second of a two-part series. And we started part two with a view of, and some of you may know about this. This is the Mohonk Mountain House up in near New Paltz, New York, up in the Catskills, actually the Shawangum Mountains of lower New York State, where they have been keeping weather records since the late 19th century. So here we go. I hope you can hear this. Let's see how this all turns out.
Well, it's in black right now.
It's in black. You can't see it.
Nope.
You just
went to black.
Huh. Well, let me see here.
Unshare and share again.
I'm going to do that. Stop share. Share. What do you see now?
You're okay. Now I can see it, and now it's gone again. That's very strange. Sharing is not cooperating, Joe. Try it one more time.
All right. I'll unshare. Now I'm going to share the screen for a third time. Share.
Nope. Negative. It's for some reason it's not working. Oh well.
Oh well.
That's television. Now unshare and share again. Unshare and just get out of it and see if I can get you back up on the screen.
Technology, ladies and gentlemen, technology.
Yes. Okay, I got you back on the screen.
Goodbye.
Yes, exactly. Goodbye.
Bye.
And Leon Probitsky just hit Super Chat after that amazing display of technical talents that we've just done here on both our ends here on the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Thank you, Leon. Most appreciated. Now let's do Briller Joe. Unless you want to go ahead and explain about the Cooperative Observer.
We'll hold off on it until maybe Sunday or whatever. We'll see if.
Was this a question on the chat board tonight?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So whoever it was, wait till Sunday. We'll see if we can work out this problem between now and then.
And I'm actually upset on my library talk this afternoon. I was unable to play a video, which had always worked up until today, and now all of a sudden, not just that video, but all the other videos that all of my other library talks, and even the videos on my monitor here
won't play.
Are not playing. They're saying will not play. So I don't understand what's going on.
It's beyond comprehension sometimes.
So do I have Briller Jeopardy?
I think you do. Yes, I had it yesterday.
Hopefully, I'll be able to pull it up. So let's.
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again? Nothing up my sleeve. Presto!
By the way, now that I just brought that up, I'm going to ask you a question. So on the Yogi Bear cartoon, what was the name of the female bear?
Wasn't that Cindy?
Was it Cindy? Yeah. Okay. Because they were in commercial while I was flipping channels, and I noticed, this big image of it was Yogi Bear on the cartoon channel, whatever it was, but they were in commercial, and I have no patience for that. But they kind of show you as you're flipping through the channel very briefly whatever was the last shot before they go to commercials, just like is there as an image for like maybe a flash of a second, if that. And she came up, and I was racking my brains out trying to remember her name. Anyway, uh, that was a totally pointless thing to bring up, but I just wanted to ask.
All right, so Briller Jeopardy tonight on this edition. As of 2023, Joe and Chatboard, what are the top 8 colors for new cars? And baseball rules, 3 strikes and you're out apply. The top 8 colors.
Okay, so I will say black, white, and silver.
That's there.
Okay. Black, white, and silver. Red.
Yep.
Black, white, silver, red, blue.
Blue, yes.
Black, white, silver, red, blue. I'm not a fan of green cars, and for the most part, you don't see green cars very often. So I'm not going to say green for the moment. Rich Rothmansky says gray. Patrick Darcy said blue. Maggie P said green.
All right, well, just for the heck of it, green is on the list.
Oh, it is? Okay.
And so is gray.
And gray.
And so is blue.
So we've got 7 out of the 8.
Yes. Only 1 left.
Well, Patrick Darcy says maroon.
No, maroon is not there.
Maroon is not. How about chartreuse?
Chartreuse is not there either.
Aquamarine.
Aquamarine is not there.
Velvet.
Velvet?
I'm thinking of all the Crayola crayon colors.
I'll tell
the
you
ones
what.
that have the weird colors too, the weird names.
I'll tell you what.
It can't be yellow.
Give you a hint. Yukon Cornelius on Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was interested in 2 different types of colors or minerals or
silver and gold.
Silver.
Well, I said silver before.
You did say it?
Yes.
Oh, well, then you got all 8.
Then we got all 8. That was quick.
Yeah.
No, Helen Bertona, yellow. You know what? Unless you're buying a fleet of school buses, you don't really see yellow too much. There was a time back, I don't know how many years ago, where all of a sudden school bus yellow became really popular, and you saw a few of those. I had a neighbor who had one of those Hummers, and it was school bus yellow, which was really, those things were monstrous to begin with, and to have that color yellow on it was, I don't know, it just struck me as slightly obnoxious. But then again, I have no sense of fashion anyhow. So
anyway, here's question number 2, which should be relatively easy, for at least for us Earth science majors, Joe. What are the 7 colors? What are the 7 colors of a rainbow that we can see?
Oh God, violet.
And there's a name that you would use to remember those 7 colors.
Oh, I forgot now. God. This is something that hasn't been asked in 40 years. I don't remember.
Don't you remember? Don't you remember Roy G. Biv?
RGB, yeah. RGB.
Well, that's 3 of the colors. How about 7?
So what was like violet, indigo, red, blue, right? Green.
Yeah. Right. 2 left.
Going to the chat board. Rich Rothmansky says orange.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, everybody's pulling out Crayola crayon colors here. We've got 7 of them. So red, orange, violet, green, blue.
Well, there are 7. Yes.
Red, orange, violet, green, blue, indigo, and what was the other one?
Well, you red, orange, green, indigo, blue. Did you get violet?
Yes, violet.
Right. So there's 1 left.
Purple?
No.
Yellow, white?
Yellow.
Yellow.
There you go.
Okay.
No, red. And Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, G for green, and Biv, blue, indigo, and violet.
Oh, very good.
There
Okay.
you are. Last question. What was the original color of Play-Doh when it made its first appearance
Oh, see, I have
60
this thing
years
about
ago in
play.
1956?
I have this thing about Play-Doh. Okay. If you're invited to some gathering of young kids where you really don't want to go and you totally dislike the person, you bring the kid Play-Doh as a gift because it's guaranteed to show up in the somewhere under some cushion 20 years from now. And the stuff is just indestructible.
Yeah, I didn't get that much in the way of Play-Doh as a kid. You know what really got my mother very upset? Silly putty.
Oh, I never had silly putty. I
Silly putty. I love to pick up. And you know what? If you had silly putty right now and you tried to, put it on the Sunday comics, I don't think you could do that now because the paper that they use on most Sunday comics won't allow that to you won't be able to pick up the image.
Oh, you'd get sued.
Uh,
You'd get
and
sued if you could. Somebody'd be watching you.
you roll it up and you bounce it and you stretch it, and it's crazy stuff. What was the original color of Play-Doh in 1956, Joe?
I always remember what the main color I remember was like a pinkish color.
Well, you and I grew up with that. One thing I always wanted and I never got was the Fun Factory.
No, I never got that either.
Um,
Thank God.
and
Anyway,
Rich Rothmansky got it, white,
white. Oh,
white.
okay.
So there you go. That,
I've not seen Play-Doh anymore.
it had to, I have to tell you, as a very young boy, I did actually put it in my mouth once.
Yeah, I
Just
did too. I think kids our age put things in their mouths that they when we were kids that
and
we
had kind of like a salty
yeah,
type.
yeah, I remember. Uh, I did the same thing. You weren't alone. I'm sure everybody our age did that had Play-Doh.
Yeah.
Anyway. All right, so that I guess wraps it up for this Thursday. We cover so many interesting topics here on this thing we call a program. All right, Joe and Joe Weather Show. Assuming that we get picked up by the network, we'll be back on Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And we are brought to you by Tempest by WeatherFlow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing weather network on the planet. The link is pinned to the top of the chat board. It's also on the descriptor to this video. And if you do make a purchase, use the coupon code I want a weather station, and you'll get
10% off. And yes, Frank R., I agree with you. Kids also ate Elmer's glue as well.
Oh, yeah. And Omni True Value Hardware at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number, and the website is
OmniTrueValue.com.
All right, buddy. I'll see you on Sunday. And everybody watching tonight, or those of you on the chat board, thanks for spending another night with us. It's wonderful that you're here. Pretty much the bunch of regulars that are here every night, and whether the weather is active and exciting or calm and relatively dull, but dull is good too. You guys are here. You guys and gals are here all the time, and Joe and I appreciate it greatly. So we will see you tomorrow night. I'm sorry, Monday. Sunday.
No, Sunday.
Sunday at 11 a.m.
And thank you to Chuck Cardillo again, Brendan Doherty, and Leon Probitsky for hitting the chat bar, the tip jar, and also the super chat bar.
Whatever.
We thank you. Whatever.
Good night.
Nighty night.
All right. Hold on. I cannot seem to. Oh, here we go. Finally.